to another episode of Deadass Poet Society. I'm here with Justice.
Hey, listen, we have a very rare edition of Deadass Poet Society. I know you guys don't get to see the shooter in person, but here he is, the shooter, you know what I mean? This is the guy behind all the cool graphics you see, all the behind the scenes footage, all the editing, everything. This is our man right here, the shooter.
Yeah, so what are we discussing today? There's so many things to talk about. Earlier we were talking about P. Diddy, we were talking about different aspects of being an artist. Mm-hmm. So where did we leave off?
I mean, I think the question that we really have to ask ourselves is, can we separate the art from the artist?
I don't want to touch on the P. Diddy stuff yet because every time this subject comes up, I think about Michael Jackson.
Right.
And he's a hard one to separate. The rumors.
Yeah.
On one hand, you have countless documentaries of he did it. On the other hand, you have countless people who they're like, where's the real proof? I never watched those documentaries because I'm so biased that I don't want to believe it. That's just me. On the other hand, you have your R.Kellys. It's like I don't need to watch any proof. There's the P tapes. There's plenty of Dave Chappelle parodies.
Right.
Drip, 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 beat on you, you know. That was great.
Yeah.
So then there's the two extremes. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I think there's been like a history of artists getting in trouble in real life, right? Where it makes the actual music and what they've done kind of blurry. It kind of blurs the lines for most people. I think the whole Michael Jackson situation, you know, I think a lot of that stuff came out after he kind of like died and passed away and all the things, right? So I think that it's hard when you lived with the image and the idea of somebody for so long.
He doesn't get to defend himself.
100%. But then also like something happens that changes the way you now view the music, you know? And I think that's the hardest thing is like, can we separate the artist from the music, the human, from the art?
This is another thing too, like with him, you don't find evidence in his music. Like he's still like making references to like other women and all that stuff. But R.Kelly was like convincing people to make songs called Age Ain't Nothing But a Number. And he's going to other countries like, come on back to America with me. Doing crazy stuff. So when people are crazy, it's obvious. Which kind of is a little bit of a segue to what we were talking about earlier with Kanye. Like there's a person who kind of lost it a little bit, but that's because like I guess the pressures of society broke him a little bit.
Yeah.
And I was like also kind of touching on how he's a genius, and that's like the price you pay to be like that good of an artist.
Yeah.
That's my opinion, but I think he's that good.
I think it gets to a stage where it becomes interesting because I feel like oftentimes in our society, talent supersedes bad behavior. Like we give a lot of people a lot of passes because if your talent is amazing, you know, then it's like, we'll look the other way. We'll turn this way while you do this over here. We won't even look at it, right? Because we're so appreciative of the art. We're so appreciative of what you bring to the table. We kind of turn a blind eye to a lot of things.
You just made me realize something. Like why is it that society does that? Where did this come from? Like if I had to like answer that for myself, I don't know the answer, but if I had to guess, it has to do with like music producers of way back in the day of like if you want to make it in the movie industry or the old music industry, you had to like sleep with these people and do like some really terrible corrupt things. Oh man. So then like even though like those ways are kind of over, like still in the veins of society a little bit. I don't know. That's tricky.
I think it's so crazy how like I don't think there's ever been an artist that's been like squeaky clean in the sense of behind closed doors. We always hear these stories about like this artist is doing these kind of drugs behind closed doors, or this artist was blowing lines before he came out on stage.
Name me one movie about a musician, a biopic, that doesn't have, they went through their drug phase, they cheated on their wife. Every single one of them. Ray Charles, what's the dude from Bohemian Rhapsody? You know what I'm talking about. Freddie Mercury.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every single one of them. Their journey, and then there's a parody of that. It's called Walk Hard. That's a great movie. You should watch it. It's a comedy. He parodies all those things because every musician has to pay their dues by going through a drug bender and getting divorced and cheating on people and being promiscuous.
Absolutely.
Well, maybe that's the old way. I don't know about how things are now.
I mean, listen, we've even heard like the rumors of like guys like Bruno Mars, you know, like doing a lot of drugs prior to coming on stage, all these things, right? All these rumors. But I feel like when your talent supersedes the behavior, I just feel like people will just turn a blind eye, let you do your thing behind closed doors.
There's people that abuse that.
Yeah, people will kind of like almost like protect you. You know, people will kind of protect you because they're like, listen, because people associate the bad behavior with the actual talent. So it's like, you know what? If you need this drug, if you need this thing in order to perform, we'll give it to you. Turn our head this way. You go ahead, you do the drugs, you blow the lines, do whatever it is you need to do because we want the product, we want the music.
I wonder how much of that is because then they get to have the narrative of I clean my act up and now I'm better than ever too. You know, because everything's a narrative.
Right.
Like he's going through his bad boy phase, or Britney Spears going crazy, or whatever that JoJo girl right now. She's doing some weird. I never heard of this girl, but all of a sudden she's important. But these are the examples of people go through phases, and people always put a camera on them when they're falling apart. Because even bad publicity is publicity.
Right.
So then there's people who know this and they exploit it. And then you think that their life is a mess, but they're just like, okay, so how am I going to look like a mess today?
Right.
But behind the scenes, they probably have like a nice apartment and they're very tidy. They just know how to, you know, exploit the masses, just like politicians do. It's all an act.
So here's a crazy question, right? Do you almost become a victim of your own image in the sense that I think about like a prime example of this would be Mary J. Blige.
There are celebrities that become a victim of their own persona.
Right. So for example, like I think about like an artist like
Mary J.
Right. Or like I think about Mary J. Blige, right? Mary J. Blige's best albums, her best work was when she was in deep depressions, going through bad relationships,
that's an artist.
All the things, right?
And that's proof that she's an artist.
But then the moment she was happy and the moment she was putting out different content, I felt like her audience was like, no, we want the old Mary. We want the Mary that was sad. We want the, you know?
I'm glad you brought her up because she said something that kind of disappointed me a long time ago. She came up with the, just get a cronked up on it in this dancer.
Right.
And they were like, why'd you make that song?
Right.
That was like, it seems like you were like going for like a mainstream song on purpose.
Yeah.
And she said, because I was going for a mainstream song. What's with the lyrics? She goes, because there was people making a bunch of gibberish songs at the time. And I was like, if they were making money making gibberish songs, then I'm going to make money making gibberish songs.
Right.
Like, crunked up on it in this dancery. So then like I heard that, I was like, so what, are you like selling out? But now in retrospect, I'm like, no, that's not selling out. That's just taking the temperature of what's going on. And I don't even want to use the word exploiting. That's the wrong word. It's just like, I don't want to use the word taking advantage. It's just being smart about it. Because you have to stay relevant. And while you're staying relevant, then you get to go to the garage and write the deep cuts while you're surviving financially. You know what I'm saying? Because you can't like... A real artist is going to make stuff that is not for everybody. That's what a real artist is going to do. But somebody who wants to succeed is going to have to make something for the masses. And stuff that's for the masses is always simple and plain. Every time. Every time. I don't want to hog the conversation because there's a whole quote I can go on, but like, what do you think about that?
Do you think there's a way that you can do both? Can you satisfy the masses while making quality art?
Absolutely. It's a balancing act. If you have 10 songs on an album, they don't all have to be for the masses. They don't all have to be the deep cuts. You have one deep cut, you have one mainstream banger that's going to make you your millions, and then all the other songs you just play roller coaster with.
Right.
You know? The best artists do that.
Yeah. I think
in all genres.
Absolutely. I think we just live in a space in society where we try to put people in these boxes, right? And then it's like, you know, anytime you do anything that is outside of the box, we're like, wait a minute, hold up, wait a minute, right? When I think as people, as human beings, we're very multidimensional, right?
It's getting to that point.
Yeah. And I don't think that any one person is just like this one lane in this one box, right? I think about like us as human beings and the roles we play in various spaces, you know? Like here, you may be a father. Here, you may be a employee. Here, you may be a boss.
We wear a lot of hats and we have a lot of titles.
Absolutely.
Not just at work, but like in our personal lives.
In life, absolutely.
Within your family and then
100%.
among your friends. Absolutely.
Right. So I think that like for me, when I listen to music, right, I look for the artist to explore these various roles within their own life, right? So like for example,
that's a great way to put it.
Yeah. So like when I listen to like artists, I want to hear like, well, who are you in your family dynamic?
You're talking about aspects.
Yes.
Okay.
Like who are you within, you know, like if your music career, your role within like the you know, working at the label, wherever it is, like what's your role like there? Where's your role like with your family? Where's your role like with your personal life and relationship with your girlfriend or your wife, whoever that is, right? I want you to explore all these different various points of your life so that I can get a deeper connection to you as an artist. What do you think about that?
I think that's important because when you follow an artist, you want to almost feel like this is gonna sound weird to say, but you almost feel like you have like your own relationship with them.
Yeah, 100%.
Not like a friend or partner, but like an acquaintance.
Yeah.
Something like that. Like,
absolutely.
Like in another lifetime, I might have been this person's friend. I know them somehow, you know, because they express themselves in a very open way.
Yeah.
That's what art is. It's a form of expression. So like when people resonate with music, it's because something touched them that they already agree with, or it's new to them that like might have changed their life.
Absolutely.
Just one word.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's what formulates the deepest connections and the deepest bonds between the artist and their fans, right? When they feel like there's an aspect of them they can relate to. But how do you create that bond, right? You have to throw out different aspects because every person is not going to connect to every aspect of you. So it's like, you know what? For these fans, I'm going to tell them about my personal life, my relationships, right? So we got all this relationship music, and people can relate to that. People can relate to the heartbreaks.
To a certain extent, that's the best part about it.
Absolutely.
Because this is one of the best quotes I ever heard from David Grohl. Do you know who that is?
Yeah. Yep.
He said, "There's nothing like singing a song to 80,000 people and having them sing it back to you for 80,000 different reasons." When he said that, that's exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, I could be listening to Folding Clothes by J. Cole, and I know exactly what he's talking about. But I'm thinking about all the times that I had a healthy relationship with a girl, and I got up and I did the chores without her asking me to. You know? Because he put it in a can.
Right.
That healthy, positive male point of view.
Yeah.
Which is what he's still doing, which I
Wow.
like.
Wow.
I don't even listen to his music that much, but I like him as a human being because he's been putting that image out.
That's deep though. That healthy, positive male point of view. I mean, that's deep. Now you're hitting on something that's totally.
That's why when he
that's
backed out and apologized, everybody was like, "Oh, that's not hip hop." I'm like, "Good,"
Yeah.
because everything needs an update.
Yeah.
Everything post-COVID needs an update.
Time out. That needs to be on the T-shirt. Everything needs an update.
It's true.
Yeah. Wow. That's deep.
Well, you want me to tell you why everything needs an update? Because everything is changing so rapidly that if you're not getting with the change of times already, woof,
Yeah.
it's already happening.
Yeah.
Like we've been touching on this a little bit, and I don't want to bring it back to that, but like now that we've glazed over it a couple of times, might as well. You keep saying about how Drake does all these different things, different aspects, right? You have to now because there's so many audiences that you have to show different talents and avenues of who you can be. Like just like what I said, Bad Bunny also does wrestling and all these other things because because there's so many audiences now that there's so many opportunities. Right? Because things are moving so freaking fast nowadays and everything's so chaotic. I'm trying to get to a point, but it's really hard to put into words. Help me out here.
Well, I definitely want to piggyback off of what you said. I mean,
please do, 'cause
that everything needs an update was so deep, right? Because I think about like the evolution of an artist. You know, a lot of people were getting mad at guys like Jay-Z saying, "Oh, you don't sound like the Jay-Z from your first album from Reasonable Doubt," right? Or, you know, when it came to Nas, like, "Oh, you don't sound like Nas from Illmatic," you know? And the thing is that everything, like you said, everything needs an update, right? As an artist is growing, evolving, changing, you're around different people, you're hanging around different groups, right? So you're not the guy in Brooklyn selling dope. You're not that guy anymore, right?
And they're proud to not be that person anymore.
100%.
They have songs about it.
Right. So now they're telling you, like, listen, I'm on a plane, eating shrimp, drinking champagne, all these different things, because now they're painting you a different picture of the evolution.
Nas has a song called "Not Going Back."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm glad he does.
Right. But I feel like
because otherwise people would go back and be proud about it.
Right. But you know what's crazy though is that we can accept that from certain people, right? But I feel like we have a hard time allowing other people to be their authentic selves in certain spaces. I feel like we give the Drakes of the world a hard time because he falls into this category of like he's not hard enough. We don't believe his story because we know he was a TV guy. He didn't come from the slums.
I don't feel bad for Drake anymore because he doesn't have to listen to the haters. If he's got his audience, he just has to be happy with his people and ignore the negativity. Yeah. If you're paying attention to the negativity, it's just because you like that dynamic. And it's part of the fun of being famous, sure. So like, by all means, box.
Right.
As a matter of fact, a smart business person sticks their head into that crowd a little bit just to like flip some hearts.
Yeah.
Win some people over.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? There was a time that I was not that big of a fan of Drake, but then he kept popping up, and then he was in a song with Erykah Badu, and he was like finally some recognition from a true great. I'm like, damn, if he's on a track with Erykah Badu, he's doing something right.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So yeah.
I think I just love what you said about this idea of like everything needs an update. Like I couldn't be happier for the way hip hop has evolved. Hip hop just celebrated its 50th year anniversary, and hip hop has truly evolved. We are like evolving from the times of when hip hop was all about selling drugs. It was all about being tough. It was all about violence. It was all about certain aspects of like culture, right?
They were even telling you what to dress and like how to sell drugs properly and all that bad stuff.
Right,
That's very negative.
Absolutely. And I think now...
And we survived it.
We survived absolutely. But you know what though? We survived it. There are a lot of people who probably serving time in jail right now.
Like, I did my time.
Because they took a song too literally.
Shine, look at Shine. Like, whoa.
Right. Ding, right?
Ding.
Yeah, right? I mean, like again, like there are these eras
Only he knew.
Right. There were these eras of hip hop where, it was cool to, step on somebody's shoes, punch them in the face, all this like ignorant stuff that was happening.
The guy who played that guy in Do the Right Thing, Giancarlo Espinosa, the actor, he just did that bit on Instagram today where somebody stepped on his shoes. He's like, yo, man! Right. Just to show how ignorant that is.
Crazy.
That's hilarious.
Absolutely.
Wow.
But you got people literally in jail probably right now
for their kicks.
Because they couldn't decompartmentalize just this is music, this is for entertainment, this is not how you should act in real life. Right?
Man. We should bring up the Boondocks one episode, but go on.
Yeah, and I just feel like I'm glad that hip hop is in a place where now it's showing different aspects of what manhood looks like. Going back to your point of this healthy man concepts. Right?
You know why? Because that's fighting back against the toxic male,
toxic masculinity.
Toxic masculinity and male have a bad reputation. But here's the thing: I don't want to get into this topic. What people call toxic masculinity is just masculinity. Masculinity has its positive and negative sides. Let's not go down that rabbit hole. That's just all that is.
So let me ask you this question, right? Yeah. Because now we gotta get into it. What makes it toxic?
That everything has its negative side and its positive side. You get what I'm saying? Like, I'm a man. I am strong. I can provide. I can do things that a man can do, but I also can destroy things. And on a bad day, I might do that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
On a bad day, I might hurt somebody's feelings just with my words.
Right.
Just because that's what a guy might do on a bad day. I don't know. These are bad examples, but we all have our bad days.
So you know what's crazy? Going back to your point, I'm stuck on it. And I think it's such a solid point. I want to make sure the viewers get it. I think the thing that makes it toxic is when your hardware no longer has an update.
When the what?
I think the thing that makes it toxic is when your hardware refuses
you're touching on
to
something
update.
Very important, because the only reason why people have these points of views is because they were taught at a very young age these very negative things. So people like you and I who avoided, a path of like ignorance and just like being a little too bootleg for our own good, and maybe like even like never updating our vocabulary, we dodged a lot of bullets, and people probably treat us a little bit better than they would have had we still kept up with the same appearances that we did a long time ago, if we ever even were that way.
You want to know how I compare people? I think about going back to your point of reference, right? You know how when your phone asks you to update, it'll ask you several times, update. Hey, plug in your phone,
great analogy.
Charge it, update.
That is a great analogy.
And then what happens? If you refuse to do the
then
update,
none of the software works anymore.
That's exactly what happens with us as human beings.
So a lot of the analogies I noticed have to do with like plugging in your hardware with your brain and all that stuff. That's very good. That's very good.
Yeah. Yeah, I just believe that when it comes to music, right, I think it's the same way. I think that
That's a great analogy.
if you are stuck in the 90s, right, and you are stuck in that way of thinking, that like that idea of masculinity, what it is, right, and then meanwhile, music is now growing and evolving. And it's like music is asking you, hey, update, do the update.
I need your help with this topic now, because you just touched on something that is universal for everybody that ever lived on this green earth. This is very important. You hit a certain age, and everything that comes out new sounds like garbage, no matter who you are. However, everything that came before you sounds timeless. Like my mom's music sounds amazing to me. My dad's music sounds amazing. As I got older, because I missed out on the Fleetwood Macs and the Beatles, I was exposed to these things like in my 20s and 30s.
Right.
And I'm like, this is great music. Where was I? Like Pink
Absolutely.
Floyd, I have all these things on record.
Right,
I gotta
right.
show you my record collection later.
Yeah.
And so then I'm like, wait a minute, where was I going with this?
Evolution, updating.
Right. So then I don't know. It's all a matter of timing, really, when you get exposed to things and all that stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's very complicated. There was a question I was trying to ask you in this, but I lost my train of thought.
So you were talking about how your parents' music sounds timeless, right? This idea of updating, right? And how you can still listen to it and you could
Yeah, but at some point you become the person who is set in your ways, because everybody ages and everybody becomes set in their ways.
Right.
So how do you update when you become the person who's set in their ways?
Well,
That's unavoidable.
Well, check this out, right?
How do you update then?
Here's what's crazy. So
There's a intersection.
100%. But I almost feel like there's updating by choice and there's updating by force, right?
I agree.
And here's where it gets deep. So imagine like our parents' generation, right? They grew up, listening to a certain type of music. And if you compare it to phones, right? Yeah, you may always want a flip phone, right? But now, if you look at most major distributors, they no longer offer a flip phone. But then what happens? Everything comes back full circle.
It's cyclical.
So now you have
Everything
flip
is
phones
cyclical.
coming back out, right?
I almost brought that up earlier, but I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead. That's a great point.
But now everything,
That's a great
so
point.
everything comes back full circle. So now you have flip phones again, right? For people who still want the flip phone, but the flip
Except
phone,
that was sideways flip phone.
100%.
Just to update that. Yep.
Exactly. So now it's the same. So now you still get the flip phone, but with the modern technology.
They put the idea on its head.
Absolutely. So now, so what happens?
That's a good point.
So with cell phones, like all of a sudden we went from like super high tech. Now all of a sudden it's like we're back to flip phones, right? But we're still gonna give you the modern technology. We're still gonna give you everything your phone could possibly imagine you're doing, but we're still gonna give you that feeling of the flip. I feel like that's what music is starting to do. Think about all the samples, right?
And
all the old school
people,
samples.
I'm very, very happy that people are going back to scratching.
Yeah.
Because that's a pillar of hip hop.
100%.
It's important.
100%.
Just so that for the lay viewer, we should just mention what the four pillars of hip hop are real quick, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's rap, it's MC, it's graffiti, and it's scratching, right? The
Yeah,
DJ. That's pretty
definitely.
much it.
Yeah, absolutely.
The MC and the DJ aren't the same thing, right?
No,
they're
like
separate.
Yeah, yeah.
So I got them right. The four pillars.
Yep,
All right,
yep.
good. All right.
And when you think about it though, right? If you think about like this idea of updating, this idea of revolving, things being cyclical, right? Like when you think about it, I mean, think about how many.
But you're right though. It
Yeah.
is.
Think about how many songs are being sampled from the old stuff, right? Like just like the rehashing, right?
Samples from funk, from soul.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then people who listen to samples today, they're like, oh, that got sampled from the 90s song. But
Right.
little did they know that 90s
song
song
got sampled from the 70s song, right?
and that 70s song probably got sampled from a reggae song from the 60s, got sampled from a blues song from the 40s.
Absolutely.
And you could probably go all the way back to some tribe a long time ago.
Right, absolutely.
This is crazy.
And you know what's crazy is that, obviously, like a guy like Diddy, right? This was his claim to fame. Diddy's claim to fame as a producer was sampling older music. Think about like Biggie's
Dr. Dre.
Juicy, right?
Dr. Dre was the same way.
Same way, right? Is the ability to take an old song, put a new twist on it, a new
Most
spin,
people do that, bro.
right?
They just hide it.
Yeah, so what do? You get the old listeners that are like, wow, like Biggie, Juicy, wow, I remember that Juicy Fruit, right? You know what I mean?
We were just talking about this today about like we could do a whole episode about songs with listening to the entire sampled songs. But
Right.
damn, what was I gonna ask you? Man, I keep losing because the million great questions keep coming out of what you're saying, so I should just let you keep rolling.
No, I listen.
Yeah.
I'm stuck on what you said about this idea of updating, right? I'm stuck on that.
Well, yeah.
'Cause I feel like it's so.
But you're coming up with a lot of great points.
Yeah, but it's so transferable to life. This is like life beyond just music, but it's so applicable to music, right? This idea of updating, this idea of your hardware has to change, right? But then at the same time, even though we're asking your hardware to change, we're still coming back full circle because we're still going to give you a lot of that old school feel that you liked. And think about the most popular songs now. They're all old samples. Every last one. Every song that's playing on the radio now, for the most part, is a sample of something older.
I'm going to ask you a
and it's
very
coming
tricky
back.
question.
Go for it.
Answer this however you want.
Absolutely.
Is music fashion? Think about it.
I first of all, I think it's a
Think
great.
about
I
it.
think it's a great analogy.
Is
right?
music fashion?
1,000%.
That means that music is trendy.
Absolutely.
That means that music can come and go. Oh, but
Yeah.
some fashions are timeless.
And I think that.
So then music is fashion. Damn.
and
that sucks.
And it comes. and it comes full circle.
I
right?
wish it was its own thing, but it is
Listen,
fashion.
I think about Fresh Prince with Will Smith, right? About how that show was so ahead of its time.
That's true.
And when I think about some of the outfits that he put together, the outfits that he wore on the show, how it's coming full circle. Like we're still wearing the vibrant colors, right?
People package zeitgeists and then they.
Yeah, absolutely. And everything's coming full circle. Everything, right? Like the old fashions coming back, the styles coming back.
You know who does that? And it's like blatant. Bruno Mars.
Absolutely.
He's like 70s.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's like, hey, 90s.
Yep,
In your
right.
face. In
Yeah.
color, like every single color.
Every single color, right? And what does he do? He makes it sound so cool and so fun, and he's introducing a new audience to something that was
But
old.
there's nothing original about it.
Nothing.
But it's still cool.
Right.
So where's the crossover? Like, how did he pull that off?
Yeah.
There's nothing original about it, but
Right.
he gets to do it.
Right. Absolutely.
That's just proof that you don't have to be. Okay, I'm gonna beat this dead horse because anybody who hangs out with me is probably tired of me saying it, but I've never said it on screen, so I'm just gonna get this out of the way.
Okay, go for it. Go for it.
It's a Picasso quote. Good artists copy, great artists steal. That means that nobody's original. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I go to the museum, I see a bunch of works, I come home, I'm inspired, and I come up with some stuff.
Right. Right.
I was inspired
Wow.
by what I saw.
Wow.
Even if what I saw I thought was original,
Yeah.
I did not come up with that idea. I things touched me and then that came out.
Imitation is the biggest form of flattery.
You said what I say to people more than anybody.
Yeah.
I use that quote so often, and that's because I imitate everything.
Mm-hmm.
When people talk, I imitate the way they talk. Like,
Right.
like if somebody had a very unique voice, I would imitate their very unique voice. I hear sound effects outside. I'm like, I imitate everything, bro.
Yeah.
Because I truly believe that imitation is the highest form of flattery, and people get offended
Yeah.
because they don't know that.
Right. Right.
Now, which leads me to my next question for you: do you believe that ignorance is bliss?
Is ignorance bliss? That's a great question. I don't know if ignorance is bliss per se, but I do think I do believe there are certain things that are better left a mystery. So, for example, if we're putting it in the realm of hip
So
hop,
the answer is no, but
if we're putting it in the realm of hip hop, right? I wish I didn't see that video with Diddy. I wish I didn't hear about the things that Michael Jackson was
I'm
doing.
glad I saw that video with Diddy.
I almost wish I didn't hear the things I heard about Michael Jackson in his private bedroom. I wish I didn't know what I know about R. Kelly. The reason why I'm saying that is because once I hear or see these things, I can't unhear them or unsee them. And I can't now apply that to the art, right? And some people are very great at decompartmentalizing. You know, we had a talk earlier with Levi Tate. We had a talk earlier with Non-Plus, you know, and they said, listen, I can take R. Kelly and I can still step in the name of love,
That's
right?
What I said,
and all the things.
How can you have a wedding without having something to step in the name?
I can't, right? I can't because for me, I actually bought into who you were as a, well, I should say this. I bought into who I thought you were as a person through the music, right?
There's something I have
so I assumed all these things about like who R. Kelly was. I thought he was this smooth guy that was like, you know, macking to actual of age women, 21 plus, right? And now to know that these songs and these things.
That's the worst part. Like he can do that and he chooses to be, to be a creep.
Listen. I mean, this, you know, when I listen to Diddy's songs, right? And I think about like his brilliance and his genius. But then when I see that video, I can't now listen to him knowing that like I have a daughter.
I think that like, Diddy's brilliance and genius is in finding talent. Because he was good at finding talent. Was he talented?
Well, I think he was a great producer.
He was a great producer.
Yeah, I think he was a great producer.
But
I'll give him that.
But like, if he made his own song, it probably wouldn't be nearly as good as any of the songs he made for the talent.
100%. And also the talent was known to write his lyrics and write for him and things like that. So that's
what I'm saying. He had ghostwriters and all that probably.
Yeah, yeah.
So there was something that I wanted to bring up earlier, and I feel like this is gonna be just like a big sharp right turn, but it's worth bringing up because I was watching the new Cat Williams comedy special, and he made this great point.
Oh,
Did you see it?
Yeah, I saw the whole thing.
He's a genius.
He is a genius.
I love that man. So he made a great point. So then maybe you already have a take on this. He said that now in 2024, there's no excuse. You can be yourself, and everybody gets it. Like if you're racist, you're stupid.
Right.
Because everybody's already like themselves.
Right.
So like, what's the point of being racist?
Right.
What's the point of being ignorant? Everybody might as well just be themselves. It's almost like saying like, if you're a freak, just be a freak, because nobody cares anymore. So like, what does that look like in rap? Who's the person being a freak right now? Who's the person who's like, you know what? There are no rules. Oh, Tyler the Creator. Right. He's doing that. I don't listen to much of his music, but I saw his Tiny Desk concert, and I was like, this is good stuff. And that wasn't even hip hop. That was R&B.
Right.
That Tiny Desk concert. But when I saw him do that funk flex thing, I was like, this guy is hilarious. So he made me laugh. But then I didn't like shortly after that go listen to his discography. So he was good enough to like hold my attention, but not good enough to like make me like, go down the rabbit hole, I guess.
Gotcha.
But then again, I'm not the right age group. Which goes back to what we were talking about before. Like, I might be too old for the new music. You know what I mean? So, like, how do I reconcile that? Because I want to be able to be more well-informed in hip-hop than just what I knew and what I already have well-studied over and over and over again. And I can tell you all the behind-the-scenes of all my favorite music and all my favorite rappers and everything outside of rap, even with all my other favorite music. I like a lot of music, bro. I can tell you so much about music, but I can also tell you that as I'm getting older, I'm not finding new music anymore. Now,
can we discuss that for a second? Now, my question
That's what I need help with.
Now, here's my question to you. My question to you, and this is going to get deep, right?
Yeah.
My question to you is, in terms of your ability to find new music, do you think it's because of the way you've been programmed to digest music, right?
Can you elaborate?
Like, so for example, what I find to be true is when I have these conversations in circles, right? And when it's me, you, it's Levi, it's Non-Plus, and we're all talking about hip hop, it's easy for me to see what generation of music each person is in, right? Like I can tell like Non-Plus was all about like the 90s hip hop. Like I could tell that was his era. And in listening to music, and the style of music that I feel like he like really gravitates to, the Nas's, the this was the era of hip hop where we're talking about guys outside rapping, freestyling, battle rap, like guys were really just like the art of hip hop, they say, right?
Yeah, Jamie's like, I'm sorry. D.A.P.S is more focused on the talent and the art form of like the lyrics,
right?
Which is kind of interesting because you don't even need a beat to have lyrics,
right?
So that's one aspect,
right? So now for me, right, who also, I would definitely say like, yeah, I love the '90s and stuff like that, but I've been able to digest a lot of the new stuff as well because I can appreciate it for what it is. Because back to your earlier point, the conversation we was having off camera was that I can, like, I'm not comparing what I'm listening to right now to what I was listening to back then, right? Like, I'm not comparing, Drake to Jadakiss. I don't think it would be it's not an apples to apples comparison, right? I like Drake for different reasons than I like Jadakiss, right? And because I'm able to decompartmentalize, I can appreciate them both for different reasons, right? But I'm able to still digest it because my core is soul music. My core is R&B. My core is, like just an eclectic mix.
Think of that Inside Out movie, and you got the panel.
Yeah.
And then like you're like the different.
100%.
Yeah,
so different things about different artists really satisfy me. So my question is, do you find?
I'm all about conscientious rap. So
okay. So what satisfies you?
Mos Def, Kanye. This is just hip hop.
Just hip hop.
I like Black Sheep.
Mm-hmm.
I like Camp Lo.
Mm-hmm.
I like Wu-Tang.
Mm-hmm.
I like Nas.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me give you a good example, right? Sometimes even like people that I like, I hear stuff of theirs the first time and I'm like, But then I hear it later, I'm like, what was going on with me that day?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it just like comes and goes. So like, I heard the Yeezus album for the first time and I gave it a really good chance. That's how it starts.
Right.
And then I finished it and I was just like,
yeah.
What the hell is he doing, bro?
Right.
A year later, I'm like, I'm gonna give this another chance. By the time that album was over, I think I might like it more than My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy all of a sudden.
Wow, that's a huge compliment.
It just clicked.
Yeah.
It just clicked. It hit hard. And then I started working out to that album and I got in shape.
Wow.
Like
Yeah.
Things just happen like that.
Now here's my question to you, right? What changed for you in the way you processed it? Like, what changed for you?
I understood what he was doing. Just like when I first heard Life of Pablo, I was like, this is a little too experimental.
Right.
But then I listened to it again, and I was like, man, this guy's really pouring his heart out here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a mess. Like, he's a mess.
Right.
This is an artist.
Right.
So I appreciate him like that because I'm an artist.
Right.
I'm a weird artist. I'm not like a normal artist. I'm like a weird artist. Like, if you got to know me, you'd see my art for what it really is and you'd be like, wow, this kid's really talented because it's deeper than the surface.
Yeah.
So like, just like these albums.
But you see
Jesus is deeper than the surface.
But you see how, like, even the artists you mentioned, right? You said, I like the Camp Lows. I like the Black Sheeps, right? Like, there's...
But that's like from like the 80s all the way to like the mid 2000s.
Right. But their sound is more of like a grittier sound.
It's gritty. There's a little boom bap in there.
100%, right?
A little bit.
But
it's grittier.
It's definitely like a genre of music, right?
It's New York.
It's 100%.
It's New York.
Right.
I got that New York East Coast.
Exactly. So like, I feel as though for a large majority of people, when you listen to music, you're hardwired to process it in a certain way, right? So like, for example,
you're touching on a very dangerous subject.
So this is why.
This is very dangerous.
Like, listen, I'm from the Bronx, from the East Coast, born and raised,
in the Bronx.
right?
Yeah,
right.
man.
So like, we're hardwired to almost like hear hip hop.
We were born with hip hop alongside.
So for us, for a West Coast artist to appeal to us, right? It has to be delivered in a certain way.
You know what appealed to me?
A certain way.
The thing that made it different is what appealed to me. The bing, that piano, that organ. That's what made it different. Cause I'm like, I could picture driving down the like Long Beach in a
Right.
convertible listening to that would be dope.
Right. But like when I think about like when
You're
people,
touching on a dangerous topic.
yeah, it's getting deep because when you
You're
think
touching on a dangerous
yeah,
topic.
when you think about like the way we process music, right? For example, for us back when it was like Biggie or Tupac, pick one, right?
Yeah, but you're touching on a
Right.
dangerous topic. I don't want to get there, but
Yeah.
I want you to get there.
Yeah. So we talk about Biggie and Tupac, right?
Sure.
And we talk about like just how we view those two artists and how we listen to them. For us as East Coast people, right? Everything. Listen, from the beats to the flow to everything, Biggie registered with us. His
Yeah.
sound registered with us. But
And he's nasty.
right, but there were certain Tupac songs.
And he had a like
right,
attitude.
but there were certain Tupac
Seven Knuckle
songs
Levers.
that may have not been completely with a West Coast style. But when you heard it, like for example, like keep your head up, like we was like, oh snap,
Yeah.
undeniable,
Some
right?
of those songs were
yeah,
tearjerkers.
yeah, dear mama, you all
Yeah.
appreciate it, right? We had to bob
That's
our
what
heads.
Don Plus was saying, that he was also an artist, not just a rapper.
Yeah,
But like Biggie was
Yeah.
just like,
right.
and that's what I did.
But what he did was he gave the East Coast a sound with certain songs that we were able to digest and process, right? So for example, like
That's because he's smart.
yeah, so for example, like when he came out with the California,
Boom, bam, bam,
right?
bam.
When we first heard it, at least for me,
I didn't like it.
I didn't like it.
I still don't like
right?
it.
I was like, right?
I still don't like it.
Because it sounded so West Coast. But then over time, right, as I guess I updated. Right?
And then it's another one that I don't like. I'm going
Back to
Cali,
right.
Because it's like you're shoehorning stuff.
Right.
I get it, but I'm gonna cut to the chase because you're
Yeah.
tiptoeing around the subject, and I'm gonna cut to the chase.
Go for it. Go for it.
All right.
Go for it.
It sounds like you're talking about a very delicate subject, but you're bringing it up in a very correct way. So I'm just gonna ask this question for you: Is there such thing as being a product of your environment? Because you're saying that we grew up around Biggie, and therefore we have an ear for Biggie.
Right.
People who grew up in the West Coast grew up around Tupac, and therefore, I mean, we're gonna have Tupac fans in the East Coast. You're gonna have Tupac because now we have the internet, there's more exposure. But
Right.
back then, there was not. Everything was analog or
Right.
whatever. So we had
Right.
the benefit of enjoying it for what it was.
Right.
So that being said, are people products of their environment?
I don't know if we're necessarily products of our environment, or we got into a place where I feel like our ears are programmed to digest certain things in a certain way. But I don't know if we're products, because I think it just depends upon whether or not we've updated, going back to your point, right? Have we updated our software or our hardware? Or have we been hitting that, I will not update, right? I will not update. Like, have we updated? Like for me, I think I've updated just because of the fact that I'm able to listen to a wide variety of music and extract certain things that
I'm very eclectic with my musical tastes.
Yeah, so you updated, right?
I update and I seek.
Right.
Like Spotify now has a thing where you can just put a genre and then they just like, here's a playlist of things
Right.
based on your taste, and we're gonna put songs that you already like,
Yep.
but we're gonna put things similar. Just
Absolutely.
to like wean you into different things. And
But-
I'm like, that's what I need.
But for some people, I think that they refuse to update. I think they hit that button like, nope, right? Because for them, it's like, listen, I talk to guys that are true East Coast hip hop guys to the core.
They're loyalists, they're purists.
Anything that does not sound like that, they don't want to hear it.
They're loyalists.
And because of that, they're missing out on so much good music just because it's not in a way that is digestible.
can I play devil's advocate?
Go for it.
Because I agree with you.
Yeah.
So because they're not here, I'm only playing devil's advocate because they're not here.
Right.
But who's gonna defend the East Coast? You get what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
Like there has to be soldiers.
Right.
So like there might be just like sacrificing listening to more musical taste so that when the conversation comes up, they're well versed in the East Coast.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
Okay. But I also feel like, are we in a place where, are we beyond that now, right?
We are, because now we're going full circle, because with all this diversity and all that stuff, this is gonna sound complicated, but it's not. People used to think that what's happening is a lot of appropriation, but I don't see appropriation anymore. I see integration. The world is coming together and it's mixing in a very positive way, and there's no excuses anymore.
Right.
There's still wars and stuff going on, but like, from what I understand, there's less wars now than there's ever been in human history, and we're living in the best times apparently.
Right.
It just doesn't look like that because we live in chaotic times, and apparently the United States is going through imperial downfall, but we still live in modern times and things are going pretty well still. But that's another tangent. That's besides the point. We still haven't answered the question of we were talking about damn, I just had it right there.
Products of the environment.
Products of the environment, which is another way of saying is their free will, but that's too deep.
Right.
That's too deep.
Right.
Because that was, how did we get there? Right? Maybe that's a good stopping point to like wrap up the show. So like, how do we wrap this up? We talked about Drake.
Yeah.
We talked about artists. We talked about Ye. Oof. We talked about Michael Jackson and R.Kelly.
Yeah.
And we talked about fashion, music.
Yeah.
We talked about everything, but they all are related.
I think to your point, and I'm telling you, I'm so stuck on this 'cause I think it was brilliant. I think to wrap up the show, one of the things that we should leave our audience with is that one of the most important things you can do as a human being is to make sure you're continuing to hit the update button. And to make
We
sure
have
you're
to also,
continuing
but
to update your software, your hardware.
we have to not only update your hardware, we have to like, share, and subscribe at the same time. That's always important.
Absolutely.
That goes for
share, subscribe. Deadass Poet Society is bigger than hip hop. It's bigger than music. Just wherever you can extract from this, we'll take it.
That's right. And like, just because they call me graphic doesn't mean I won't get graphic on you. That's why they call me the shooter. I'm coming after you. So please hit that like, share, subscribe. I've been Shooter for Deadass Poet Society here with Justice.
That's right, absolutely. And Shooter, man, tell them where they can find you at, because I feel like, we just don't give you enough credit for what you do behind the scenes. So Shooter, please tell the people where you can be found at.
If you want to find me on my website is www.geraldguzman.com. That's my first name, last name.com. If you want to find my Instagram, it's Gerald Fernalio with a PH.
Oh wow, okay, you gave the official government.
That's the government because that's my official website because I'm a professional graphic designer.
Nice.
And that's on my resume, that's on my LinkedIn, at Gerald Fernalio. But if you want to find me on Twitter, you can find me at graphic@D.A.P.S. That's my @ on Twitter.
Hey, listen, y'all heard it here first. This is The Shooter. I'm Justice. We out. Peace.